Hey, what's going on? This is Seth, and in this video, I'm going to give a little review of my experience of working with this website called DesignBro. If you're not familiar with websites like 99designs, it's kind of like that, where you can basically submit a request to get a design for all kinds of different things, whether it be a logo or a website design or a poster or flyer or album cover or book, you name it. There's a ton of different things that you can get designed. In this case, what I'm going to do is get some podcast artwork designed, and that sort of falls under the album cover design, I think. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Just in general, what I hope you'll take away from this is just what you can expect and what this process looks like when you're using this website. The folks at DesignBro are not reviewing this or approving it before I put it out there. So this is just my real honest take on what the experience is like. With that, I'll just get started here. So I'm going to click on this, and you can sort of see some examples of other album covers that they have designed. The reason I'm picking this is because the podcast artwork is, I don't know if it's these exact same dimensions, but if it's not, it's really close because it's basically just a square like what you see here. And I'm going to be submitting different examples of what I'm looking for and descriptions of what I'm looking for. So let's just go ahead and move on. We'll start a project. And what brand would you like to create an album cover for? So this is going to be for a podcast that I'm calling Storyland. This is going to be a kids story podcast. So that's why I'm calling it that. And then describe your brand DNA. So I'm going to say sort of neutral, and then value versus premium, bold versus refined, detailed versus clean. I think I'm probably going to go closer to the clean end here. I think I sort of do want this to be a little bit more bold, seeing as how this is like a kid's brand that I want them to be able to notice and have their attention drawn to it. And then handcrafted versus minimalist. Let's try this. And then serious versus playful, definitely more on the playful side. And then fit in the category versus stand out from the crowd. Let's go there. Go ahead and click continue. And then let's see, tell us about your target audience. So this is definitely going to be youthful, masculine versus feminine. I don't know that it really applies. I'll probably just keep that right in the middle. And low income versus high income, that doesn't really apply either. So I'm just going to leave that in the middle as well. Which countries will your design be aimed at? So this is going to be an English-speaking podcast, as you can tell, as I'm sitting here speaking English. So pretty much all English-speaking countries. So I guess I could put United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, and we'll say New Zealand. So I'm just going to stick to that. Hopefully they get the idea. And then at this point, we have to create a new account. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Then do you already have a logo you want to feature on your album cover? I'm going to say no. And then what is your album cover for? Podcast artwork. And what size would you like your album cover to be? 3,000 by 3,000. That works just fine. And then what text would you like to feature on your album cover? So for this, it's going to be pretty simple. Just story and land. I wonder if that's supposed to be one word or two words. Anyway, I'm going to start with 2 words and go from there. And then do you already have images or photos you'd like to feature on your album cover? No, I do not. Would you like the designers to use stock images? I'll say sure. Then would you like the designers to use stock images? I was asking the same question, but I think what they're getting at is, do I want them to use free stock images or free and paid stock images? Let's go with free for now. Can you show us inspirational designs that you think look great? Upload your inspiration here. So based on where I'm at right now, I actually don't have much of a specific vision in mind for what this should look like. But when I do see what I like, it's going to be pretty clear to me. So I think what I'm going to do is go to a lot of the existing podcasts for kids that sort of fit within this genre that are already out there that I'm trying to do. Let's go ahead and see all. And all I'm doing here is I'm just searching for kids stories on Apple Podcasts, and this is what came up. And the ones that I think look pretty cool, or at least ones that I think would stand out in a crowd, or at least they're standing out to me as I look at them, I'll go ahead and pick those out. So I'll do this one here. This one stands out to me pretty well. And this one stands out pretty well, I think. This one's pretty good. This one's pretty good here. And I'm going to see if I can find any other ones. Let's search for children's stories, see if that shows us anything different. Looks like a lot of the same stuff. I think that should be probably decent enough, though. Maybe this one here. This one's pretty good. Grab that one too. Alrighty. So now that I've got that, I'm going to go back here and upload these. And it looks like I can add comments to these if I wanted to, just to like explain why I like these. I could do that, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to do that. Hopefully they'll just see what I'm sending them and use these as inspiration when they come up with their own designs. So I'm going to go ahead and click continue now. Then can you show us inspirational colors that you think look great? Normally I would say no, let's let the designer decide, but for the sake of this review, I'm going to go ahead and pick some just so we can see what this even tells us to do. So select a color. Okay, so it looks like we would have to basically just find some here. And honestly, I don't actually feel that strongly about this. So let's see, maybe I'll just pick a few random shades here. Just select some of these primary colors that I think might look good. Cool, there we go. So those are some colors I'm gonna suggest. Now, do you have any ideas or special requirements for the designers? Let's just say imagery that will appeal to ages 4 through 12, we'll say. Go ahead and click continue. Would you like to upload anything else for the designers? Just nope. Let's just go ahead and go to checkout. So this is where we have to select which plan we want to go with. And I think a lot of people will probably start with this one, and maybe that's fine. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go with this business one. And as you can see from the pricing chart here, the main difference I can expect by paying a little bit more is I'm going to get more designers participating and more designs to work with. And there's going to be a larger incentive for whichever designer ends up winning this, because the way this works is it's like the competition model. So whichever design I end up picking at the end of this, that designer is going to win the big prize. And I think they all get something, or at least the top 3 get something. So it's not like everybody completely loses out, but there's clearly a big incentive to be the winner because they're going to walk away with the biggest prize. And then also it looks like on all of these plans, you get unlimited revisions, which is kind of a big deal. I know there's a lot of logo designers out there who like won't give you any, or maybe they'll give you 1 if you're lucky. So that whole unlimited revision thing is kind of a big deal. So anyway, I'm going to click this, go to checkout, and then I'll put in my billing details here, and then we will go ahead and put in my credit card digits here and then move on to the next step. Alrighty, so it looks like the order and all the information is in and everything is paid for. Now I need to wait about 24 to 48 hours until I get the first designs back. I'm going to put this on pause and I will pick this back up as soon as we start getting some designs in. Okay, so I'm back. It's been about 48 hours. I've gotten several of these emails that look like this, and they're basically notifications saying that I've got new designs or messages from different designers who have submitted projects for this. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this up and we'll go check out what we've got so far. And it looks like this is one of the designs, which honestly is like pretty good as far as I can see. I'm liking the font. It looks like we can see a little message over here from the designer, and yeah, looks really awesome. Looks like we're able to rate it right here, or we can select them as a finalist, or if I hated this thing, I could just eliminate the design altogether. I could block them. I don't really know why I would do that, but I guess I could if I really despise what they sent me. Let's go see what else we've got here though. So it looks like we've got this thing right here. And again, you can see a little message from the designer. So I'm not really loving this one, like how the characters look. It just doesn't really fit the profile of what I was thinking in my head. And the font, it's not terrible, but overall, it just seems a little too childish, which is funny that I'm saying that because this entire thing is for children's stories, but in a lot of different ways, this thing just isn't really fitting the bill. So one thing I could do at this point is I could send them a message to explain all the things that I'm not loving about it, and then they could come back to me with some revisions and that kind of thing. But given that this is just so far off, and I have a couple other ones here that are a lot closer to the mark, I think I'm just going to say no thanks to this one. Maybe I'll just rate this one a 2 out of 5 stars. And this one over here, so I don't really love this one either. It's not that it's like a terrible design, but it just kind of looks a little bit busy. And the whole thing with like owls aren't really a focal point of anything that this podcast is going to be about. I don't really mind the color scheme they picked, but just in general, this one is not really even coming close to the mark either. So I'm probably going to rate this one 3 as well. And again, if I did want to send some feedback, I could do that right here, but I'm not going to bother on this one. This one right here. So this one is quite a bit better. I kind of like how the characters are looking. I like the color. I like the font, but I'm also not like in love with it. Like, I don't know that this will necessarily jump out from all the other kids story podcasts out there, but it's not terrible. I would say this one's kind of like right up the middle, especially given that like they didn't really get any other information from me about what these stories are about or anything. So I'll probably give this one like 4 stars. And then moving on here. So this one right here was actually the first design that came in, and I actually liked it quite a bit. I just thought it was a cool scene here that almost kind of like got my imagination going just looking at this picture. I think the one thing that I didn't love about it was this font. And it's not that the font is terrible, but I don't know, something about it was hard for me to put my finger on it or articulate what it was about the font that I didn't love. But I think what I'm going to do is rate this one a 4, and I'll just say, can we try a different font? And can we combine story and land into one word? And this is actually a new little thing that I just thought of as I was talking to my wife about this. She thought it would probably look better if it was just all one word, Storyland, kind of like Disneyland. So we're going to try that, and then also remove the word podcast from here. So we will send that feedback, and just looking at this, trying to think if there's anything else that I could change about it. Something about it, maybe it's the color scheme, sort of looks almost like it's a Halloween scene or something like that. So maybe I will mention that as well, and then I'll leave a separate comment about the color scheme. Okay, and so this other piece of feedback I'm sending is just talking about the color scheme and how it kind of looks like it's this haunted Halloween-esque scene, and that's not exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm asking them to put together an alternate version of this where maybe the hills are a little bit more green, and possibly another version where the sky is like daylight, just so it doesn't have that like spooky vibe to it. And I think that's probably one thing you'll find whenever you use a website like this, is that the more feedback you can give, especially feedback that's like well articulated and specific, the better results you're going to get. And that's actually something that I struggle with a little bit. As I mentioned a little bit with these earlier designs, I don't even necessarily know why I don't love this one that much. I just don't. So like, because I don't really know what to tell them, I'm not going to send them a whole lot of feedback, because I don't want them to spend a whole ton of work trying to fix this when I don't even really know what direction I want them to go. So I'm just not going to mess with that one anymore. But because I can sort of see where this one is going, and I can see the potential, and I can actually think of specific changes that I think would make it better, that's why I am mentioning this. And look, they already sent me a response, so they're at their computer paying close attention to this. So it'll be interesting to see what comes back on that one. In this one right here, I think if I had to pick a favorite, is probably the one so far. So I'm going to rate it 5 stars, and I'm also going to select it as a finalist. And I think the only real thing that I'm not loving about it is that it feels a little bit abstract with all these different elements on the image here. Like we've got a pencil here, a pencil there, pencils there, pencils there, and like the whole pencil thing just doesn't really make sense to me. And again, it's not really this designer's fault. They don't know a whole lot of specifics about what my stories are going to be about or anything like that, but I do. So now it's my job to jump in and actually give a lot more specific instruction about what I would like to change about this. So I'm going to just explain some of that stuff right here, and hopefully they will understand. And actually, one really helpful thing we can do here, I see we can attach images to this message that we're sending. So what I'm going to do here is open up this app on my computer called Skitch. This is like a free app you can get on a Mac computer. And I'm just going to do a screen snap like this, and capture, and then open it up. And what I can do is use this to circle certain things on the image and use arrows, and even like type out notes so that the person can see what I'm talking about. And basically what I want to do here is remove some of these images that I think are sort of forgettable or not that significant, and replace them with things that are going to be a little bit more memorable and actually have something to do with some of the stories that I'm going to have on this podcast, which again, this designer doesn't know, but I do. So it's my job to get a lot more specific about what I'm looking for. So I'm just going to find a color that's going to stand out here and start circling certain things that I think could be removed and replaced with something else. So let's see. I notice there's more than one pencil, more than one paper airplane, a lot of different leaves on here that don't really need to be there. However, I do think like this astronaut is pretty cool. This rocket ship is pretty cool. So I'm just going to start indicating the things that I think could be removed. And that's pretty much all of this stuff here. And let's see, this here, probably, I think one pencil is fine, so we can just leave that one there. One paper airplane is fine, so we'll leave that there as well. Maybe remove this stuff. Maybe remove this stuff. We don't really need this like pencil box thing in there necessarily. Remove these things here. this and remove this paper airplane there. Maybe remove this too, because we don't necessarily need 2 rocket ships. Oh, and then it looks like we've got another rocket ship up here. So I'm going to send this back with my feedback explaining why I think these things can be removed and what we can possibly replace them with. And I've got a whole list of different things that are actually in my stories that would make a lot more sense to have on here. So hopefully they can do a pretty good job of that once they have the feedback. So I'm going to go ahead and save this image and upload it. Okay, and then click on this, find that image and upload it. Okay, so I've taken a few minutes to put together some thoughtful, detailed, helpful feedback and just some specifics on what exactly I'm looking for so that this designer doesn't have to like poke around in the dark, like they have some actual concrete feedback and direction on where I'm looking for this to go. And that's what you got right here, along with this image attachment. So again, the more specificity you can provide, I think the better results you can expect. So I'm gonna go ahead and send that. And now that this is submitted, we'll just go ahead and continue playing the waiting game until we see what kind of revisions come back. All right, so we're back here. Pretty much the 2 contenders at this point are this one right here and this one right here. And I can already see some updates have been made to this one, which are looking pretty good as far as I can tell. It looks like they took a lot of the input that I had here in terms of different elements to weave into the image, and they've done that. They've also included some other things that I don't really know where they came from, like this jar of pickles over here. It's kind of random. And the egg they added, this wasn't exactly the kind of egg I was thinking. I was thinking like an egg before it's cracked and fried like this. So I'll have to specify that. But otherwise, a lot of the stuff on here looks pretty good, and it kind of fits the bill of what I was looking for. Oh, there it is. There's the egg. So I guess they did include it. I'm not sure why they included this too. Anyway. So I'm just going to send them a little bit more feedback in terms of things that I think they can remove. I don't see a train on here. I know that was one of the things that I had on my list. So I could tell them to maybe remove these 2 things and replace that with a train, just so that it has all the stuff I was thinking. So I'm just going to do that really quick and send them that feedback. Otherwise, this is looking really solid. And you can also see this correspondence they sent me just explaining what was going on and why their original design looked the way it did. And then also looking at this one, so you can see here that they put together a couple of revisions that better fit the criteria I was thinking, where it looks a little bit more like a day scene with a different font, and it doesn't have that Halloween type look to it. This one as well with a slightly different font. And they also mentioned that they can add other elements into the image if I want them to. So I could respond and say, hey, add a dragon or add a bear or do this or do that. And the point being, these designers are willing to work with you. And honestly, this particular design, like, I think I'm already to the point of deciding that this is not going to be the one. And it's not because it's not good. It's just not as close as I feel like this one is. Like, I'm kind of just sold on this one at this point. So I'm just going to send my feedback back to the designer on this one and hope that they can get it there. If I was more on the fence, I could send feedback to both of these designers, and then they could both be working at the same time. But I don't want to make this person do a bunch of work when I'm already pretty sure I'm not going to be going with them. So it's really up to you in terms of how you want to communicate with your designers and how much specificity you want to add into your correspondence so that they understand what you want. But again, at this point, since this one is almost there, I'm just going to point out the few things that I think can come out and what they could be replaced with, and we'll see what they come back with. Okay, so it's been about 36 hours now, and I just wanted to drop in here really quickly to show you some of the progress. There's actually not a whole lot of progress here, but I did hear back from this designer, basically just explaining some of the rationale that they were using with the different images that they did put in this design and why they picked those out. Apparently, they like custom made each one of these things. This was not like stock imagery that they found. And so that's why it's taking a little bit longer for them to replace them. And I basically just responded and said, look, I don't really care if you use stock imagery or not. And so I pulled up a few stock images that I would be fine with them using and put it right here and sent it to them, and then you can see their response. So anyway, I'm just waiting for them to get back to me. But the other thing that I didn't realize when I first started this, they probably explained it somewhere and I just didn't see it, but shortly after I stopped recording last time, what I did was I went into that one design with the 3 kids that I didn't really like that much. And what I did was I just said, eliminate design. And I did that. And what I didn't realize is that when you eliminate a design, it opens up a spot for another designer to jump in and give you you another option, and that's what I got here. And this one's actually like pretty good. Like when you just look at that, I mean, that's like super high quality custom imagery that looks awesome. And I wasn't even expecting that. I thought I was just stuck with these 5 and that's all I had to work with. But apparently when you eliminate a design, that opens up the spot for somebody else to jump in. So given that, I'm actually going to eliminate this one as well, just to open up yet another spot, and we'll see if something else good comes back. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and just say that I'm just looking for something else, and then confirm that. And there we go. So now that's vacant, and maybe by the next time I jump in here, we'll see yet another design. And I'm actually going to say this one's 4 stars, and I'm going to give some feedback on this one. I don't think I'm actually going to go this direction because I still like this one that's in progress, and this guy has been working really hard for me. But I do just want to say, hey, you know, this is a great design. Thanks for your effort. And then again, we will pick this back up tomorrow when I've got some more information to look at. All right, folks, so here we are. It's the following morning. I still have not gotten anybody else to fill in this spot here. It looks like somebody is assigned to it and somebody's actively working on it, but I have not seen that yet. Nevertheless, I did get the updated final design from this one, and they made all the changes that I requested and swapped out some of those image elements that I didn't like and replaced them with the ones that I did like. And just reading their comments here, so it looks like the designers actually aren't allowed to use this kind of stock imagery that I had sent them, and that's why they didn't use it, but they did take those suggestions and create their own custom imagery. So that must be like a ton of work, but I guess that is kind of cool knowing that all these images are unique. It's not something that anybody could just pull off of any stock image website. Even though I'm allowed to do that, the designers here are not allowed to do that. So that's kind of cool. And just looking at this, I mean, I can't find anything else about this that doesn't fit the profile of what I'm looking for. So I'm going to just go ahead and select this one as the winner. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right here. There we go. And put some nice encouraging feedback here. That's that. So now that they are selected as the winner, it looks like they have 2 days to upload the final files. So I'm sure there's probably like multiple different versions of this in different file formats that they're going to upload for me, all high resolution images, and then we'll be done. So again, I'm going to put this on pause and I will check back in once I get those final files. Okay, so I'm back already. It's only been a couple hours since I hit stop the last time. I was expecting this to take like at least a day, but looks like this designer got all the final files uploaded right away, and I got this email here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the project, take a look at what we got, and it looks like these are all the files, and I can open each one of them individually to take a look at them. Looks like we've got a PDF version, PNG, JPEG, AI, EPS. So pretty much all the files that you would ever need for this kind of thing, whether you want to change it in the future or just get the original image and start using that. For my purposes, I'm probably just going to need either the JPEG or the PNG file, just in terms of uploading this podcast artwork to all the places I need to upload it to. But again, all the stuff is there and I can download all of it as a zip file as well and save it for the future. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up, make sure it's all there. Looks like a pretty big file because some of these original design files can get pretty huge. So we can see it right here. Let's change this to icons. So again, this is the one that I'm going to be needing right here. You can see it's a pretty big file there. Looks great. I think that's pretty much it. It was fairly easy and it didn't take too long and had more than one good option to work with. So there you go. That's my experience with DesignBro. Would I use them again? I think so. Yeah, I thought the experience was really good. Had some really good quality designers to work with. The cost was not bad at all. I know this kind of work can get extremely expensive depending on what country your designer is from. Again, I don't even really know where these designers are, but they did a pretty good job. So there you go. I'm going to have a link to DesignBro beneath this video. I'm not currently an affiliate and they're not paying me or anything to promote this. That doesn't mean I never will be in the future though. But just know that at the time of this recording, I have no financial incentive to like make these guys sound better than they are. I'm just showing you my real life experience. So hope that was helpful to you. And if you decide to work with them, I wish you all the best. Thanks for watching.